My name's Isabel, and I'm going to be showing you the activity The Stork and the Grim Reaper. This activity looks at two statistics. It looks at the birth rate and the death rate and how it impacts population. When the birth rate is higher than the death rate, populations grow. And this has been the case globally for the last 200 years. In fact, the current birth rate is 2.5 times the current death rate. The objective of this activity is that your students will be able to describe what a birth rate is and what a death rate is and how it affects population. Your students will also be able to describe why death rates have dropped in recent history. This is an excellent activity for middle school classrooms to teach social studies, science, math, geography, and history. In order to start this activity, you will need a bowl that you'll fill about 1/4 of the way full with water. Now, you'll also want to add a little bit of food coloring to the water so that the water is more visible in the clear container. Now, we'll really be focusing on this bowl here. This bowl is going to represent our planet, and the water inside of the bowl is going to represent our population or people. Now, in your classroom, you'll have 2 students volunteer to play the roles of the stork and of the Grim Reaper. Now, as you can imagine, the stork will illustrate people being added, or the birth rate, by adding water into this bowl. And the Grim Reaper will represent people being removed, or the death rate, by removing water from the bowl. The global birth rate is currently 20 for every 1,000 people, and the global death rate is currently 8 for every 1,000 people. Now, those numbers are not equal, so we cannot use the same size measuring cups. I will be using the 1 cup measure to add water, and Lauren will be using the 1/3 cup measure to remove water. Now let's get started. Now, as you can see, the water level in this bowl rose. Why do you think that is? Well, it's because I was adding more water than was being removed. We offer several discussion questions that you can use with your students after this demonstration. For example, you might ask them, if the increasing water represents an increasing population, what does this tell us about how the birth rate and the death rate determine population? Well, it tells us that when the birth rate is higher than the death rate, a population grows. Or when we're adding more people than we're taking away, a population grows. Now, this wasn't always the case. For a long time, the birth rate and the death rate were equal. But then advances in medicine, sanitation, agriculture, and other improvements during the Industrial Revolution changed that. It dramatically decreased the death rate, and so the birth rate was higher than the death rate, and our population grew. Part 2 of this activity has your students working in 5 groups to represent 5 countries with varying births and death rates. Now, your students will carry out this demonstration at their stations. As an extension, you could have students calculate the size of these measuring cups for a country of their choice. Activities that are related include the Peopling of Our Planet, which look at drivers of population growth, Panther Hunt, which looks at carrying capacity, and Oh How We've Grown, which looks at the history of human population growth. For more information on this and other activities, visit our website at populationeducation.org. Thanks so much for tuning in.